All right, hey everybody, thanks for tuning in on Wednesdays. Sorry it's a little bit later today. Just life going on and made some tea and got to the computer a little bit late. But I'll be working on phpstan-drupal, the Drupal extension for phpstan that allows for static analysis, all kinds of goodies. The main effort, the main use for it in the past year or 2 years has been around deprecation checks using phpstan for static analysis and its deprecation library to find usages of deprecated code. But it's been really exciting the past few months as we've added more static analysis tools to it to actually read Drupal's dynamic bits and provide better insights. One of which I'll be merging today is expand the list of entity type storages. So we have a way to dynamically return the entity storage that is used for an entity type when you fetch it from the entity type manager. For example, we go into entity storage. We have our entity dynamic return type. Oh, this is actually a step above. So entity type manager get dynamic storage return. So in here, what we'll do, so we have a few items going on in here that need to be figured out that are like, you're passing a variable for the entity type ID, so we don't know what you're working with. Although I think we can resolve that. What we do is we get the entity type ID and we have an entity data repository, and we get back the storage type, which could be config entity storage, content entity storage, or we have no idea what you are, so it's just a generic entity storage. And that's this fallback right here. If we don't know the type, we fall back. And we can use that to provide static analysis around create, load, load multiple, load by properties, and load unchanged. And the only problem is that we support very few of these entity types out of the box. Out of the box, we support node, taxonomy term, user, and block. Drupal core provides a wide array of entity types, and there's also Contrib. So I open an issue in 240 saying like we should really expand this as a good first issue. And this user has been gracious enough to fix our documentation as reported in 271. Because it used to have a different structure. Before it used to just be like Drupal and then entity storage mapping, and now it's entity type storage mapping. That's not the exact, it's entity mapping. I need to make how did the test pass? Oh, because this is the README. So let's make sure we update the README. Hopefully the stream doesn't crash because I just read that AWS is having issues again. And well, which I'm sure runs on AWS since they're owned by Amazon. So yeah, we need to replace this with entity mapping. That's a easy fix. And again here, no, not those multiple lines, just that one line, please. Add single comment. But the beautiful work that they've done is they've added all the defaults. Somebody did provide a script. I don't know if they used that script or went through by hand. Either way, I really appreciate this. So all the core entity types now have their entity type mapping provided. So entity ID with the class storage. Right now we just support the class name and the storage. Eventually we could do things to support, the access handler and other items like that. So this now supports comment, field config. Oh, it even supports the IMCE profile. So there is some Contrib added in here. Meta tag defaults. Node, the path alias, RDF, that's all core. Search page. Search API. Taxonomy tour. Web form. So this will be neat for a lot of people that use web form. Path auto. So path auto is in here as well. Date format. And so we've got web form and IMCE profile in here and search API. I know one of my follow-ups after I merge this is making an issue about other top contrib that we should cover. Such as probably like Drupal commerce and paragraphs, I think would be the biggest ones. Let's actually, you know what? Can I? Let's see. Oh man, my frame rate is dropping at 23%. Not sure if my side or AWS. You got a 23% drop rate right now, which stinks. So let's see. You can insert, edit, insert a quote. Oh, insert suggestion. There we go. Let's fix this. I should be able to add suggestion to batch. All right. Let's go through and update these comments. Edit. Although I don't know why GitHub would be going slow if AWS had issues, because actually I have no idea what they use for their infrastructure. If they migrated to Azure completely or if they have AWS or whatnot. Hello, hello. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry if the frame rate is absolutely horrible. I'm either having internet issues or it is possibly part of that AWS stuff that's going on. So add suggestion to batch, add to batch, commit suggestions, fix, readme, update, readme to use entity mapping, changes. And now if I go view the conversation, okay, so it accepted those. And I'm going to go ahead and merge this. While this is going, I was pretty excited because I finally got my the Stack Overflow, the key. Except for the fact that in order for it to get to work with my Mac, which has USB-C, I need a USB-C to USB-A converter, or adapter rather, to connect to the USB-A to USB-C adapter that it came with. So it's got this USB-C to A cord it came with, and plugging it in USB-C to USB-C does nothing. And it's set up that the Stack Overflow icon is control. So like Control-C, Control-V, which is absolutely useless on Macs. And I haven't had a chance to reprogram it yet. So neat. Was it worth the $40? Absolutely not, but a portion of it got donated to some kind of good nonprofit. So it's all fun. It's a little memento, at least. All right, so I know this will pass because it was passing beforehand. I'm going to go ahead and merge it, and this is going to be a pretty sweet improvement for people who are doing static analysis. Let's see. That's merged. Does this get fixed? No, it did not get marked fixed. Say fixed with there. So close with comment. Expand the list. And let's create a new issue that's built off of this one. And so just to show the kind of like the impact that this adds, we go to test, source, type, data, and entity storage. Nope, not entity storage. We want to go to entity type manager. So we can see here that node get storage returns node storage, term storage returns term storage. This is just that default mapping. We now have this mapping for every entity type in Drupal core, which means that calling, get, Cassidy is pretty awesome. So the key makes it worth it. But so now, whenever you get storage, you get the appropriate storage type back. So when you call load on change, you're going to get the appropriate entity type class back. So there's a big problem in the Drupal community with code and not necessarily adding like instance of checks. So it's like get like from storage load and then it's just an entity object. Well, now the code's going to be more aware without the developers having to add this type hinting like by themselves manually. Manually is a good word. So I'm really excited to see how it turns out, especially since OpenSocial uses this. I believe like if I go Gorilla, OpenSocial, I know that they're using phpstan and they actually had to bump their baseline because they started getting errors about extending user login form, which is flagged as internal. So it's pretty neat seeing that like as phpstan's improving, so is OpenSocial as well. Their static analysis of their platform. If you aren't familiar with OpenSocial, it is a social network platform built on top of Drupal. Not quite like Yammer or let's see, what is it? Microsoft has Yammer, Facebook has Workplace. It's like that. It's somewhere along those lines. It's a social platform, not meant to be like a social media network per se, at least from how I understand it. It's not going to replace Facebook anytime, but to be used in organizations. Let's see. Add, so I'm going to follow up on 240 here. Add common contrib entity types to mapping. Thanks to home all of Drupal core web form and path auto have their entity types mapped. Let's do celebrate party face. I don't want to try and add mapping for all the things in this extension, as that is hard. But I think it'd be great to cover the more common contrib. That's the word I'm looking for. What does mapping the entity types do? Great. I'll go through that again real quick. I covered it earlier, but also I realized like my frames were dropping a lot. So what this does is, so in the extension.neon, so the entity mapping, Drupal knows, like, so that you just came in, that's fine. I think this is really cool to try to communicate again. Anybody that reads the recording might hear it a few times, but maybe it'll help grasp in too. I don't mind repeating this because I think it's really cool. So when you have a Drupal site, entity types are plugins, and plugins are only aware when Drupal's bootstrapped and it can discover those plugins. Now, when you're working with your code, that's at runtime and Drupal knows how it all works. The problem when we're doing static analysis is we see Drupal entity type manager get storage, and all we know is that get storage, if I can type, we know that get storage will return entity storage interface, which is completely useless in the real world because there isn't a single entity type that returns just this. It's either actually SQL content entity storage, whatever it's called, or config storage. So we built this mapping to say, hey, the entity type manager is getting either this definition, this storage, whatever else it may be, and this is the storage it used. And then we use the class to say, hey, when you return something from the storage, it's this class. So if you look at entity type, this entity type manager test, we can see here we get the entity type manager, and this assert type is saying, hey, entity type manager get storage node is going to return node storage. Taxonomy term storage. Search API index, it's going to be search API entity, search API config entity storage. Or for block, it doesn't have a custom storage, but it is config entity because it's a config entity type. Same with a few other things going on here. So that's really cool because you get the appropriate storage type. And the way that we're able to leverage that is when we make calls on that storage type with create. And here we know that get storage node is the node storage type, which has a class of Drupal node entity node. So now when node storage create is called, phpstan knows the appropriate object type that's been returned. If you call load, it knows that it's either that class or null, because remember, if it's missing, it will return null. If you do load multiple, notice here that it says it's keyed by int. That's the difference. When you load content entities from the database, it's keyed by the ID, which is automatically converted to an integer, and then it has a value of node. Now, the interesting part is it's technically not an array still, because it might not be sequenced integers. It's actually a hash map because the integers aren't sequential. Apparently that's been my jive lately, is about the difference between like how PHP, everything's an array, but it's actually either a hash map or an array itself. So that's just been my thing apparently. And as you can see here, it does for the entity type, for the terms. So that's why I think this is really cool, because we have all these supported. So anywhere that storage is being used to load types, we are now having type hints added automatically. And one of the biggest problems that folks were coming back with like deprecated checks is saying, oh, well, my entity is a node, but this random method that's only available on revisionable entities like nodes didn't come back as deprecated. Well, how's phpstan had no idea, knowing that it was a node entity that came back from storage. This doesn't help with hooks, like hook node insert. It doesn't know that the incoming thing is a node interface unless you type hint it. But it should really help with a lot of static analysis in Drupal, which is why I like having a lot of the defaults. I don't want to have too many, but I would like to have enough. And I think this is how you get to the listing. Project module. Nope. Build. No. Modules. Yep. Oh, it was project/modules. So let's look at full projects in Drupal 9. We don't care about the status. Sort by most installed. And let's see. Hand token, no content types. CTools has no content types. Path auto does, and this was added. Admin toolbar does not. Metatag, oh, that's right, metatag was added. I'm going to make a note. Metatag and path auto. Metatag has entities for its defaults. Configuration entities. Paragraphs, that's a big one. So let's do Contrib modules to add entity type mapping for. I'll just say let's do paragraphs. Redirect. Technically, redirect provides entities, I believe, to handle all the redirects. I don't know how many times people really work within redirect code, but why not? It's a configuration entity. It should be pretty easy. It's easy enough. Field group, that adds third-party settings to manage displays. Web form, CAPTCHA, maybe. Inline entity form does not. It just makes it integrate with, or does inline embeds. I can't talk. Mail system, no. Google Analytics, maybe there's, I don't think there's config there. Entity API, nope. Address, nope. Maybe there aren't that many that provide, and if they do, they're going to provide like configuration entities like this. I don't think it's worth adding for. So the one thing is, I don't know how much value there is for adding all these things that just have configuration entities, but it's more so about the content entities. Set web form, because web form is pretty big. Link it, development module Blazy. Yeah, I feel like the only thing would be commerce, and I'd like to see maybe a more specific extension for like Drupal commerce that adds all those extensions, because that's a lot. Because commerce itself has entity types, but then a bunch of its contrib extensions have entity types as well. So I guess that was really it. It's just paragraphs. Let's see. There is the commerce ecosystem. Drupal commerce itself has about, let's see, checkout flows. Well, okay. So checkout flows, orders, order items, order types, order item types, products, product types, product variation types, stores, store types, currencies. There's about 12 or 14 entity types itself, not even including various contrib, which define their own. We could try. I'm not even gonna account for that. I can't really find any in the top beyond what has been added. Web form is config entity only. That is correct. It's funny. There's like, I wish there was like a happy middle place between config and content entities, because config entities break down at about like, when you have about like 10,000 of them, performance issues start to hit, but they're portable. And then you have content entities which scale, but they're not portable. We had that problem a lot with commerce, especially since shipping methods became content entities, because it just made a lot more sense. But then everybody's like, I can't port my shipping methods from local to production. They don't have a workflow like that. There's just no great way. All right. Before I get to the pull request to work on the next item, I know I am going to tag 1.13 so we can make sure that this entity type mapping gets out, because that's a pretty big improvement in my opinion. I'm going to work on this issue here for allow reference entities on field items. The idea is to say, hey, reference entities is an allowed method. So to give backstory on this, I'm sorry, I'm like got another sinus thing going on. Is in this one of the earlier reflection types that I added, and this needs to move into, or no, it's not a dynamic return type. So there's a property class reflection, and it says if we have a field item list interface, we return can handle property field item. Oh yeah, entity field reflection. And what it does is it helps do the whole like magicalness of entity arrow field name arrow value, and how it just gets the value, even though it's like all these different field item lists and field items and properties underneath. this handles entity value and target ID. And what this pull request proposes is referenced entities is allowed because referenced entity is on entity reference. What is it? Entity reference item list, field item list. This interface has referenced entities, and that returns the entities that have been referenced. And yet the point is that here we're saying, hey, entities allowed on a text field, we may as well allow this method. Which I think at least adding it and then figuring out how to be smarter about it is worth looking at. Oh, yeah. Explaining to marketing that a form is config and not content so they can't modify it in production. Yeah, that's been my one. I remember the first DrupalCon when Jacob proposed YAML forms. What was that? Like DrupalCon LA? When phase 2 and he did the like joint presentation on YAML forms. Preface web form had not yet started to be ported to Drupal 8, and they were working like one of the first Drupal 8 sites, like during its alpha stages and beta, which if you don't remember was a long time. And I remember thinking like, this is cool. You write your thing in YAML and it just works. It's portable. Like people can like just work on things. But didn't really think about the fact like, oh, I'm in production and I can't make a custom form because if I do, it could be blown away because it lives in the config system. Again, config management was a blessing and solved a lot of problems that we had in Drupal 7, but also opened up a whole bunch of other problems with like managing state. But hey, I know they talk about like the hardest things in software development is like cache invalidation and naming things, but it's also maintaining state. I managed to break, I don't know, my my ZSH is broken, so that's cool. I realized that after I rebooted, so I've got to use my plain terminal here. All right, so I'm gonna check out PR265. Jeez. What? Oh no. Is that just me? That's me. Man. Sorry, I'm putting stuff in the chat to do the whole check and see. And there's a good bit of lag. Sorry, again, I don't know if it's on my end or well, it's got to be on my end. Of course, I bet if I go to fast.com, it won't load. It's always got to be when I live stream too. It was always so good over the summer, and then it just crashed out. Well, I can't even check out the pull request. Let's see if I can remember why this was failing. Okay. All right. Maybe everything's back now. There we go. All right. Blip is over. Hooray. Sorry for that. Let's rebase main. Merge. All right. What? Why is this? How is this so conflicted? Was this even modified? I don't even understand. Oh, because it adds a new item in here. Okay. That's why. This entity fields. Okay. So we put that into here. And then this one down here. That looks golden. Continue rebasing. We'll merge this in. Return self, but then it's going to. All right, so we got the rebase. Hopefully I'm back now and the frames aren't nearly as dropped. Entity fields via magic. Now, is this the new one? Yes. So what does this say? Line 62 is always true. Object. No, that's. Let's run. Oh, is phpstan actually going to run on this? It's supposed to be. Okay, oh, yeah, unreachable statement. Wait a second. What happened here? Hold on. I don't know what. Okay. Is going on. That other parts of phpstan handle this. Yep, if it's any field, it has the native method, reflection, interface object. Actually, I mean you do or has tag, get methods tag. We found out we have to handle this as well when doing has or array key exists. So method name, get method tags. Because we found out that we are running, there's no way to run reliably in order with the net dependency injection. So we have to, we were running before the annotations check. So if you did at method and it's like a documented __ call, we're bypassing that. So we're going to skip over there. So we got that fixed. Now I need to figure out why I merged this poorly. Good thing I didn't push it yet. Any fields via magic reflection extension. That's a horrible name. I need to fix this. All right. Now we're back up to here. And I'm going to do PHP, vendor bin, phpstan. It's saying line 62 is always true. Because we don't return yes from the trinary logic. Wait, if interface get ancestor with class name, I think this duplicates itself. if interface object is supertype of class object, that should be the same difference. So let's delete that. Thanks for hanging out, and yeah, have a good holidays too. That's right. My next stream will be, wait, there's one more week left in the year, right? I think. Yep, I got one more stream left back in the year. Oh wait, so this could actually be just reduced to return wait, that makes that, I feel like that doesn't make any sense. Or does, why was this added? Public static function, find usages. Where is this added? It's added in has method, and here I think so why don't we okay, so this method's class. All right. I don't think we need to have this duplicated. So if let's see, interface object type equals new object type get name, and this should just be object type or interface object is super of object type. Yes, we don't need the reflection. Unless we could do, we do class reflection, get type aliases, type map, get resolve mixin types. No, we'll skip that. So interface object type, yes, return can handle method, and then this is only used in here. And I'd like to kill this off, but I don't know how well we have the tests. Well, this entire thing needs to be refactored. So let's just annotate this real quick. This is when it was made public, or maybe it was always public. All right, we'll just leave it. The entire thing needs to be cleaned up later on. So let's rerun the test. Entity fields extension class entity test is not found. Why not? Let's do. Maybe we change it to node. PHP. How in the world does this not? What? There's a lot of unused classes in here. Oh, because it copies this one. How does this work? Oh, because we have ignore next line right there. Is that why? It's so weird that it doesn't fail on the whatever. All right. Field item list method reflection. So let's go to reflection. Field item list method reflection. Name has no construct name. What's this? String. That's what it wants us to do. Reflection provider is redundant. Declaring class. Well, what we could do is, why do we need the reflection provider? The method might change. I see. So method names can, so okay, can handle method reference entities, gets the declaring class. What, this isn't even has method, can handle method. Property. That's what we did here. All right. The workaround for this is how does this work? Can handle method, method name. Any field methods. Has method, get method. Returns that reflection with the method name. Property list. Get declaring class is this declaring class, and that's in the constructor. So we'll do if this name is not equal to referenced entities, no new, should not happen. Only referenced entities is currently handled by class. Yeah, I don't know what to do here the best way, so let's just work on it. We'll just say, hey, this is an error. We'll fix this up when we get to it. So I want to see if we can do object type equals new object type entity reference field items interface get declaring class. So when we do it this way, object type return get declaring class. That should fix the BC problem. Oops. Oh, because I don't know what I was typing. Corn effect, resubscribe, thank you. Object type. Get class reflection. There it is. The problem is this could be nullable. And are we going to get in trouble for that? Yeah. Jeez. So let's do the good old class reflection equals object type, get class reflection. If class reflection equal to null, throw new should not happen, could not get class reflection for ND class. Is this the greatest? Nope. Will it work? Sure will. Normally, I probably would want to try to be a little bit more elegant, but this entire section of the PHP stand code is old. Some of the original code that I wrote, and just needs to be reworked in general. So I figured the more we add, the more there is to clean up, but the more we can clean up, the better it will be. So my fingers crossed. Git add source, git add tests. Let's do PHP vendor bin, PHP CS on source. Git commit. Fix PHP stand warnings. Leverage object. Git push F. So I did a rebase. Now let's refresh this and take a good peek at it. So we've got the new entity field methods reflection, and there's actually a lot of entity fields that have this here. Yeah, too bad it's like so there's no way to statically infer what they are. So has method, get method tags, object type, get the reflection name, if, so has method. If entity reference field item list, turn. Oh, we lost, shoot, we lost that here. Line 23. Put that back. And I needed to run this test. Nope, that's not a test. That's the reflection. So reference entities explode if we have the wrong type. Invariance deprecated, no. Final, yes, that's fine. Here's the test. Extension. Reflection is created. Reflection provider, this has method. All right. And I think technically this test, oh yeah, it's reflection, it's not in the return type. All right, first, if git commit AV, put back items lost in rebase for property tag, yas tag tags. Push. So let's push that back. And I'm just going to run all the tests. Let's check these checks. Let's see what's first. Guaranteed it'll be GitHub Actions. Oh, we got a failure. Let's jump to the source. All right. Test field item list. reference entities passes. So I broke this. With one of my fixes. And it's exactly what I was looking at. That I thought didn't make sense. Give me the commits. All right. So yeah, we had one failure. And that's because oh wait, what am I doing? Let's fix this. Change this to method name. The same construct. We'll rename this to be name. The lines is a bit too. So can handle property if an array. The names. Get declaring class. Should just be return this declaring class. And where does this get writable type? This name, method name. Sure, we'll do that. All right. Which will break our entity field methods, because it needs the class reflection, which we do class reflection get native reflection. Or no, just with the class reflection. Okay. So field item list, but what we need to actually do, so this is what was wrong. This is the error right here. This should not be entity field item list. Is super of. Else, I deleted something here where it did interface. Yes, no. What did I screwed something up here. Can handle method. In array should be field item list interface. Let me just try to go back and see where I screwed up. Okay, here it is. Yep. So if is super of field item list. That's what we need to have checked. So if it's field item list interface, method supports referenced entities in array. But what we want to do is actually say get method Methods class has method, get method. Can handle method, constructor. Okay, so it's supported here. So we can say if method name is equal to referenced so now we're handling the I think I know what we can do. Can handle method. So this is static method here. Public static function. So the problem I'm trying to solve here is we've got the method, but we know that method only exists on certain interfaces. So given a certain interface, I want to return that. So instead of maybe making this be generic like field item list, it should just be what is it? Should be just entity reference item list reflection. Because it's not used anywhere else. Return new, return new. So let's sorry, I'm trying to think for a second. Because really this is now in property. No, it's not. This is properties, and it's really like what happened. It's more of a dynamic return type on first, which is too hard to do. Field item list method reflection. Screw it. I'm again thinking way too hard on it. So we're going to move this can handle method. So if we're going to say if not yes, return false. And if method name is equal to, we're going to put all the logic inside of here. So if otherwise return false. Return true. So we return here. We're going to move this whole can handle method out of this class. And if the method name is referenced entities, class reflection equals entity. What's it? I will never entity reference field item list interface. So entity reference field item list interface type. It's an awful long name. Object type. Drupal core. And class reflection equals entity type get class reflection. Assert class reflection is not equal to null. All right, I feel a little bit better about that because we're So based on the method that we're supporting, we're going to return the appropriate class reflection. I think that makes sense. So in here, if we, like, let's see, computed a file type, right? Default values, post save. There's no custom methods in here. Let's try to find something that is maybe silly. Date time, get values from form. I don't know of many field item lists that do custom methods. Changed, has affecting changes, default access. These are all on field item list interface. The map equals, nope. Comment, get, offset exist, access, that's all there. Layout, get sections. Here we go. All right, we're gonna add support for layout section item also. We're gonna add support for that in here. Might be a good idea, might be a bad idea. And what we can do now is have a private static function, get methods, field item list methods map, turns an array. And return. So what we can do is have referenced entities is from here. And then we'll do that. The worst part here is that something else could define get sections. Oh. Class has. Yeah, never mind. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole because this. What if some random class has get sections? But I guess this is about like misses. So yeah, we'll add it. Let's add it in. Section item list. Figure add it in, and then face the consequences later. So that'll be on section list interfaced. So, which that better extend. It does not. Defines interface for an object that stores layout sections. Get sections. Never mind. Nope, because I'd rather find ways to be smarter about the fields. So I'm not going to go that whole hog and try to find a way to support more at once. So let's go to run. Let's rerun the failed test. Sweet. One second. All right, so that passed. Let's do get diff. Get commit. Get commit dash a. Refactor method detection. So method reflection can be used for any item list. Yeah, I know the commit's long. I don't care. So that'll be what's going to be really interesting is how we can handle these dynamic return types and property reflections. Just because in Drupal, you can do so many things. That might, yeah. So see about that. I need to get back to the issues to see what could be done here. Add return type of entity to access method, return type for extension cache backend get. I don't need to end Drupal 8 support as I thought. These would be good to have. So I'm leaving them. So if you want to have a good issue, all you gotta do is update the composer JSON and say that these would be good suggested packages. Report errors if classes with dependency serialization trait have private properties. That'd be a good rule. Oh, make discover Drupal extensions accessible via a service. Didn't we merge this? Oh yeah, we did. Fixed via 264. Let's see. So now that's all running and close to passing. In green. I'm just going to squash this. Squashed this up. Thanks for the ad. All right. So there's some really hard ones that I guess I should go back to this pre-render callback rule. This has been a while. So actually, I want to see if I can get any quick one. I'm postponing the inevitable because I don't want to work on that again. Actually, this is a big one that's blocking. So right now, Drupal core is trying to run phpstan, but actually this test is causing it to crash. And it's this snippet of code for some reason, where entity field test equals excuse me, where entity field test is set to an array, then a different array, then to a string, and then taking a string and setting it as an array. It just explodes, cannot assign an empty string or empty string to a string offset in file. So this is really odd because it shouldn't be erroring. Like it works in Drupal. So we'll tackle this now. This is fun. Let's see if we can fix this real quick. So check out main, pull, let's get the latest. And I've got about 45 minutes. Let's see what we can get. So let's go and write a test. The hard part is I don't know what rule would be causing this to crash. It's just crashing. It's just crashing PHP period. Let's see if I can get back to the original issue. Well, the problem is that the tests are passing, right? The tests are passing everywhere else in Drupal core, despite it being on 8.0. So I don't know. It's not a language issue. So test source, Drupal and Drush integration test. Let's do let's go for a wild class name there. So declare strict types, namespace. No idea what my namespaces are. And this is why right here that I bought the fancy little keypad, the key, except I didn't remap the Stack Overflow icon to not be control but to be command because I have a Mac. Like I love my Mac, but I hate all the cool things are for PCs or Linuxes. Probably should actually. I could technically move over to a Linux machine now that I have a dedicated work machine, but I still need to use like Adobe Creative Suite to help out my wife with like designing cookie cutters and then putting them into Cura for 3D printing. So maybe it's not something I can just cut over to yet. Also, the fact that I've got a bunch of spare Macs, I don't know. So let's see, what did I do for the Drupal rule test case? Call a non-existent rule. Drupal auto loading test. Okay, so we're gonna extend Drupal. Extends Drupal rule test case. Get rule, no. Dummy rule. Ah, great. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so there. Return new dummy rule. Dummy rule does nothing. This was copied from the phpstan library itself. And then test function test crash void, and do it. This analyze, and analyze is an array of files, which that's going to be a long file path, so I'm going to break it apart. We should expect no errors, but the file is directory fixtures Drupal core modules link tests. Nope. Again, sorry about that. Again, copy paste. All right, so for some reason, this test is causing a crash when running against phpstan. When running phpstan in against Drupal core. So line 165. What does that go up as a string? Options null. And that's because inside Drupal, there's like all these magical setters. Like this says, oh, well, set the first item to have this value. And then the first item's like, oh, well, I'm going to set this to my main property value, which is the URI and not options. But then here you can be like, we'll take the first value and say, hey, take the first item and set this property to null. It's magic all the way down. Surprisingly, something more magical than Laravel. That's not supposed to be like a hit. It's just Laravel has a lot of magic to it. Okay. Here we go. All right. Constant string type. Get commit. Let's do get diff. Status rather. Get add tests. Get commit. Create failing test. Get push. Get push u origin. GitHub PR create. This verifies a Drupal core bug when processing link item test. Fixes number 228. And I'll go ahead and I am working on a fix now. I was able to reproduce the bug. Now, this is going to be one heck of a problem. I can tell right now. Because it's inside constant string type and it thinks that something's being set. It thinks field item test is a string from up here. And for some reason, this is okay. But then this breaks. So, yeah. I think we can fix it in phpstan, though. Or in phpstan-drupal. The problem is due to the way phpstan has decided the field test property will act. It gets set to constant string type, but still this shouldn't cause a crash in phpstan. I don't think. Hopefully I can make a fix in phpstan-drupal until phpstan has a fix if we can determine why. All right, so let's go dive into it because it was impossible to get this good of a stack trace before. So we go to phpstan and phpstan-var, source type constant, and luckily this constant string type is something that I've been diving into when trying to handle calling to instance methods statically in PHP 8, which will cause an error. So let's look at 236. Set offsite type. And this value, not assign an empty string to a string offset. If offset type, instance of constant integer type, and value type is instance of constant string type. So this is the error right here. And drop a debug and go through it. Oh, that's right. I was doing a bunch of debugging in here to try to figure out like how we could order the dependencies properly for property reflections. So let me back out. That's from last week. Oh, geez. Okay, go. All right. Debugger. So value. Yeah. Okay. Huh. So did we cause this to be possible? Value type, null type, this is class string. The other part I'm wondering is like, did we make this possible? Did we make this bug possible because of our reflections. The entity fields method, the entity fields via magic property. So I feel like we might be causing this. So let's see. Offset type 0. I'll take a screenshot and say this is why it's erroring. phpstan has held onto the value when it was set to a string. And changing the offset for a field item, and phpstan is not aware that the entity property is a field item list, which is array accessible is, what is field item list? Field item list, just go to map, accessible interface, that's correct. List interface, that's what I'm looking for. Right. Access, but with magical getters that will return the first value. Like I said, I think we might be causing the shot in foot with our dynamic returns. So we're gonna see if we can track this down. It's funny because in the last pull request, I was like, hey, this is a hot, fiery mess and it needs to be cleaned up. And guess what? I'm cleaning it up. So reflection, implements, entity interface, entity field reflection. So step over. The property is entity field reflection, declaring entity field reflection. Get writable type if is original. If declaring class is there's a to do from okay, but this code is, again, it's almost 2 years old now. Actually, yeah, it's 2 years old, and this was all right. I'm gonna hit stop. Get writable type. Can change type after assignment. What is this? Property reflection. True. It's deprecated is internal. No. All right. Let's see. So we've got, okay, so we've proven that it's in there. I will be really happy if we can solve this, because then we can unblock. If Drupal core is hitting this, there's going to be other Drupal code that hits this as well. So if implements entity interface, what I want to actually do is I'm going to fix this. New object type is super of class reflection, get name. Yes. Oh, duh. We can't do those. Can't really do it that way. Well, I guess that's where this kind of is in handy when we do. Okay, I'm not getting to that far. So entity field reflection. We have an entity interface. Let's just look at entity. Maybe this is where it needs entity. Where's the core base? Entity base. Entity base. So getter. Okay, so that's actually, this is wrong. The getters don't exist on entity base. And config entity base does not have getters either. It should only be base, because config base, content entity base. This should be the only wonderful thing that has getters. So let's go ahead and entity field reflection. Let's fix that. Entity fields via magic reflection. So content, and that's not even on the interface, which is the fieldable entity interface. I don't think it's on any of the interfaces, which is the that's the thing, is it's technically not even in content interface. It's just content entity base. But you know what? Content entity base provides the get and set for dynamic field access. So this is going to break possibly a lot of things. Maybe it won't. It's going to reduce the amount of impact it has and stop. Let's see. Oh, wait, here we go. We need to find a way to parse entity annotations at the minimum of keys. Has property, return true. Oh, so that's why, because get property we'll just create a private static function is content entity reflection is content is reflection content entity, which receives the class reflection trinary logic, content entity object equals new object type. And again, this object type, this whole type system did not exist earlier on in the phpstan development. So that's why I'm trying to spend time cleaning this up and moving to it. It helps abstract away reflections as a whole in a lot of different areas. We'll do reflection object type equals new object type. I guess then we can just do this whole return self class is super of object, reflection is class reflection, content entity type object. Sure. Why does it want the native reflection here? Like, why can't we just do? Never really understood that. I guess, why am I making the, oh, yeah. If self is reflection content entity, and then the trinary logic of yes. We can do the same thing here. Self is reflection, class reflection. So we've reduced that to be more targeted at the content entity. Probably didn't actually make that much of a difference, but it's some kind of cleanup. So that way we don't target configuration entities, basically. Because we could have been hijacking them. Actually not, because we're checking if those actual instances, but. So this name is field test. So this property name, if it's original. We handle this here. Oh, wait. That's where we handle the dynamicness, because when Drupal saves properties, it saves original. So let's go back. Let's just stop ruining things. Stop touching things that aren't relevant and focus on actually fixing what is, so I have less to worry about screwing up. All right, I've only made one commit with that one change. Diff, no changes. All right, let's get back on track. So yeah, whenever an entity is saved in Drupal, it creates an original property on it, which it will be broken in PHP 8.1 unless we say that it's allowed. So right, I believe PHP 8.1 said adding dynamic properties to like class objects is broken. Because why would you have a class object and then allow dynamic public properties be associated with it? So if this is a subtype, content entity interface, return field item list interface. The problem is field item list interface does not have getters or setters, but field item list, this does. So I'm going to transform this from being the interface to a concrete class, because let's face it, every single class extends this. I highly doubt anybody has extended item list and written their own field item integration by implementing field item list interface, because they haven't. Deprecated 8.2. Okay, thank you. So not 8.1, 8.2 is deprecated, which I know is like controversial, but I think it's amazing. And for the record, it like you just have to add an attribute to your class that says yes, it's allowed. It's not the end of the world. With Rector, we can do it in like 2 seconds. All right. Assume the property is a field. Return the object type. Transform static type. Return changed property reflection. It's map. Resolve property reflection. So the reflection is change type property. Declaring class is entity test. The reflection is the entity field. The readable type is field item list interface. I need to fix that. The writable type is field item list. So let's stop and go back. And let's fix that here. The readable type needs to be field item interface as well. And let's go debug once more. How silly would it be if just making sure it did the concrete class, which has the getters as implementations, fixes it. It's off the bounds, reflection, template map. Every time I go through it, I don't know what it means. So property reflection, resolved, changed. Okay. Get the readable type, return type, object type, last name. Get no. Okay, that's bounce out of here. I don't know where we are in the analyzer. Gather the nodes. Scope. This is the mutane scope as it's going through. And so this property name, get writable type. All right, so we're getting closer to where things broke, I believe. Or we're just in the nethers and we still have issues here. So value this, get value, constant string type. Oh yeah, the service ID. Yeah, that's gonna be a nightmare and a half. So for anybody who's curious about that, so what Drupal does is every time you fetch a service from the service container, we add the underscore service ID property to it. So that way when we pass it for serialization or like a form, let's say, anything that needs to get serialized to the database, we basically delete the service proper like reference and replace it with a string identifier. And then so when it goes to sleep, kill off the service reference, replace it with the string. When it wakes up on unserialized, we take that string, go fetch the service from the container. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to tackle, to say the least. And it sounds a lot more fun than this, I will say. Value type to string, value type string, constant type string is empty. That's the value. And the offset type. Oh. How can I fix this? Because I don't even know when it's getting broken. Let's do this. Okay, so let's put a breakpoint there. So we give the property reflection and we set the writable type. It still thinks it's a string, even though it didn't crash when we did a object operation on it. I don't know how we could really fix this. Get the writable type for the property. The writable type is field item list because that's type. Let's try something. I'm going to return a mixed type and let's just see what happens. Nope. Readable, writable. But, all right, so this property, when the property is writable, it wants a type. And even when we say that it's a mixed type, writable, there's no docs on here, property reflection, because the docs are on documentation. Let's look at return type, class reflection extensions, property. To describe magic properties from get and set, implement the following interface: has property, get property. You most likely want to create a new class. Yep, that doesn't explain a lot. All right, get writable type. Let's look at PHP property. This get readable type. It returns the same. So I guess actually I'm gonna, if this type is null, decide type from reflection, mixed type, never type, object mixed, false, reflection string. Well, we could just do return this, get readable type. Look at that. Types, model property. All right. Model property type, set state, new self, string type, solver. That's the resolver. Generic model property type, get reference classes, super of, traverse. Model relations, view string type. Accepts. You know what? How is this used? Because how we're given like a constant string type, view string type node resolver extension. Oh. Oh, that's in the type node to string. I think that might be in like the PHP doc. Is there docs on this thing? All right, errors, baseline, doc types, rules, view string. PHP param view string. I see. There's where it works. So that's not going to be our solution. Get writable type, get readable type, can change type after assignment. It's true because it technically does, because it could be string and whatnot. Oh. Node scope resolver. So if var type is not super of, so for some reason it does not think that we are an object type of array access, which in fact field item list interface is. So that's the bug. Is I'm making note because there's no way I'm going to finish this in the next few minutes. So the bug node scope resolver, what is that? Process assign var thinks that the field value is a string, which no longer is a super of array access, and it forgets that it is a field item list. This is going to be impossible. All right. But the thing is, I don't think they're going to just fix the core test. And it's just crashing the whole entire system. So offset type is an integer of 0. The value to write, as we know, should be null, is null type. The offset value type stack is 0. There was one value in it. So for each, let's put this here. So var type, constant string type. Why did it become var? So this is it. It's in here. It's field. We said that it's a field item list, which has a magical getter and setter. Is there another dynamic throw type extensions, type specifying extensions? Nope, that's not going to do it. Dynamic throw, dynamic return. The reflection, and the reflection is not going to help us out there. So var is property fetch. So var is entity. The name is field test. And that is the I didn't copy the code anywhere. So that's the var that we're dealing with. Now the scope. Okay, so var, we have the attributes. Maybe is there anything in here? Parent, previous? No. So let's look at the scope. Get type. This get node key. The node key. Entity field test. If key is equal to null, otherwise return the key. So whenever it's been modified, we get the same key. This resolved types. This resolved types array does not exist. Oh, because we're going through the first time. Resolve type. Set, boolean not, bitwise not. Instance of. Oh, this is going to go through a lot of things. Okay, so this more specific types. Okay, so here we go. Node add, but again, certainty is 1. Yes, that's there. This class string. Okay, so we're already too late. Because it's been set here. Some more specific types. When does this get set? This get type. This get more. And start further up. Throw points, get scope. Is the type. I need to figure out when it gets transformed into a string type. So scope. Type constant string type. So that's already too late. Because we've hit the point. No, where are we in here? For each. Jeez. And the result, so it's already set there. I don't know when it gets set. And then we go through here. Value to right. I just don't get why offset types. Offset. So if var type is not offset value type stack value to right. I don't understand this. Like, it obviously works, but let's see. Scope, assign variable, assign expression. This process expression node. Let's see if I can find what's going on here. Right, fetch, wow, fetch. String. So this is the fetch of a value. So if var instance of right dim fetch property fetch static property fetch scope assign expression. I don't know when this is happening or how we'll ever fix that. There's the readable type, mixed type. Let's see what happens if I just entity fields. That's the fields method, fields properties. What if I just comment this out? Nope. Still crashes. So the big thing now is trying to replicate this. So we've got to replicate this for class field item list. Implements array access. Set this, offset exists. Offset unset, this remove item, offset get, this get, offset set. What? Blah 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 operator has been used to append. That is I guess because array access doesn't have like an append. So sure. So we need to get this get as an item. Let's put this to the side. I want to see if I can mock this up for the phpstan sandbox at least. So this set. Say this. Whatever. I don't need to get that far into it. That's right. I just need these to exist. They don't need to do anything. They just need to exist as far as I know to prove that we have this working. So field item list, and then we can have, oh wait, get. First. Sure. First there, that's what we'll do. Get. And then set. What's it? Return this first. Let's say there. That's not apples to apples because it's multiple layers deep, but it's a good start to hopefully set name value. Sure, this will help communicate the idea behind it. No idea. Is set. Okay, we can skip all that for now. Do class entity public field item list foo equals new entity foo array. What's the actual link item list? Link item test. So let's do the following. Overridden? Yep, I know it is. So that's the key, is after this, it forgets that it's an array access and delegating this set. And I have no idea if this will translate, but let's see. Hey! All right. I was able to replicate it. String offset and let's see. Where's the oh, well, that's a fun barrel of monkeys. Where did I put that stack trace? Not here. Drupal has a wonderful class that implements array access and get and set, which delegate to classes inside of its values. These are our field item list and field item classes. We experienced phpstan crashing when trying to analyze Drupal core on the following example of code for this magical madness. I have annotated it to help make any sense of this. Yes, I know. Because it is something else. Sets list 0 item to the array. Updates to the array. Resets list 0 and delegates the string value to the field item, which sets string to its URI property. This should reset list 0 to null, but it causes phpstan to crash. I tried debugging this in, let's see, where's that pull request? After, I have no idea how I could try to fix this, even with property reflections. We have one to say we have a property reflection to ensure field item list is returned for dynamic entity properties, but that doesn't seem to help. San may error, but not crash. Shoot, process. What was it? Process var. I'm never gonna find that again since I closed it out. Let's do an edit. I'm gonna copy that image. Somewhere where that property is converted from, here's a screenshot from Xdebug. The property is considered constant string type and breaks when processing the offset value. When process, offset value, paste that screenshot. Let's do a preview. Let's copy internal error to the top of it. Here's the full stack trace when running the test and linked phpstan-drupal PR locally. Submit it. All right. I don't think I'll be able to figure this out. It is above my head, but that's where it's crashing. I can't figure this out. Opened an issue in phpstan once. Gosh. Jeez, that is a doozy and a half. At least I was able to reproduce it. And what if we do? What's the 3v4l? This is the next step here. Actually, is eval it and here and see if quick note, it's hard to quickly reproduce the same code. I realized after opening that this sample crashes in well, I'll try to work on an example that runs there but crashes for phpstan. In the meantime, there is the phpstan-drupal test which shows the failure. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Oh wait, I need to tag a release real quick before I forget. So we did not get that fixed, but we do have we do have some nice improvements coming out that I want to ship out. So let's tag those. Draft a new release. Choose a tag 1.3. Generate release notes. And create a discussion. And boom. Publish it. Awesome. Thanks for hanging out. And I'm hoping to do maybe a stream this weekend if I can. At least on Monday. I want to get back on Simply Test Me and the project browser. I think this would be a fun thing to go through. Project browser. So right now the project browser is an initiative to like have a way to browse extensions inside your Drupal site. Well, the tests are exploding and they need help. So I figured this would be a fun thing to do on a live stream to see why it's broken and what's going on with it and give them a hand. So I might pop on maybe this weekend's Christmas. So not this weekend because I'm doing family stuff. Maybe on Monday I'll do this or simply test me, or sometime throughout the holiday break. So have a good one, and if you do Christmas, have a Merry Christmas, or just enjoy the weekend because everybody's going to be busy. Bye.